Welcome to Monk's Temple. As you settle into this moment, allow your awareness to soften, as if you're lowering your gaze from a distant, busy horizon to the space just in front of your own heart. Notice the weight of your body where it rests, the gentle tide of your breath. In this quiet, I want to ask you a question that forms the cornerstone of our journey together. Where does hurt truly live? If you close your eyes and recall a moment you felt wounded by someone's words, where did you feel it? Was it in the air where the sound waves traveled? Or was it a tightness in your chest, a heat in your face, a heavy stone in your belly? That location, that internal landscape of sensation, is the first and most important clue. It reveals a liberating secret that has been at the heart of Buddhist wisdom for over 2 millennia. The pain we attribute to others is an experience we generate and hold within the very boundaries of our own being. It is not delivered to us fully formed. It is assembled, piece by painful piece, in the workshop of our own mind. Let me share a story from my own early days of seeking. I was traveling on a crowded train, tired and longing for solitude. A man across the aisle, his voice raw with frustration, began complaining loudly about everything: the delay, the heat, the state of the world. His words were sharp, seeking a target. Eventually, his gaze landed on me, a silent traveler. "People just sit there, indifferent," he snapped, directing the comment to the air but clearly meant for my ears. An old, familiar storm began to brew inside me. Indignation. A script of defensive retorts. A story of, "How dare a stranger judge me?" I felt my jaw clench, my breath shorten. I was about to become a character in his angry narrative. But then, a line from an ancient text floated up from memory: to be angry is to hold a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. In that moment, I made a conscious, almost physical choice. I visualized his words not as arrows piercing me, but as leaves falling onto the surface of a deep, still forest pool. They landed, they rippled the surface for an instant, and then they sank, absorbed into the darkness, leaving the pool's essential nature: clear, cool, deep, utterly unchanged. I did not smile at him. I did not engage. I simply returned to my own breath, to the sensation of the train's motion. The man, finding no resistance, no fuel for his fire, eventually fell silent. The storm in my chest passed. I had not changed the world outside. I had changed my relationship to it. That experience was a tiny taste of a profound freedom. If this notion, that you might hold a key to a door you didn't know was locked, resonates with you even slightly, then you have already begun. Consider this your invitation to go deeper. By subscribing to Monk's Temple, you gently turn that key each time you return, reminding yourself that this sanctuary of understanding is here for you. The core principle we are exploring today is not about building an impenetrable wall. It is about discovering you are the sky, and the hurtful words are merely weather passing through. Buddhism offers a precise map of the mind called the 12 nidanas, or links of dependent origination. It describes how suffering is chain-produced. A crucial link in that chain is phassa, contact. The ear contacts a sound. Then comes vedana, the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Then, tanha, craving, either for the pleasant to continue or the unpleasant to cease. This is the critical fork in the road. When we encounter an unpleasant feeling born from contact with harsh words, our habitual, unconscious reaction is to crave for it to stop, to push it away, to resist it violently. This resistance, this internal war against the feeling, is what Buddhism identifies as the true birthplace of sustained suffering, or dukkha. The initial sting is a fleeting sensation. The saga of anguish that follows is a story we author, a drama we produce and star in, believing we are merely the audience. The wisdom path is the practice of inserting a pause between Vedana and Tanha. In that pause, we can simply acknowledge the weather without declaring a state of emergency. We can feel the tightness without telling ourselves a story of victimhood. The sky does not hate the storm, it holds it, and in holding it, remains fundamentally untouched. To illustrate this, let me offer you a new story, a parable about a lighthouse and the storm. Imagine a lighthouse, ancient and sturdy, built on a cliff facing a wild sea. Its sole purpose is to emit a steady, guiding beam from its lantern room high above. One night, a ferocious storm descends. Waves, like mountains of fury, hurl themselves against the cliff. Wind screams, rain lashes the glass of the lantern room. The storm is immense, powerful, terrifying in its rage. But the lighthouse keeper, safe inside, is not concerned with calming the storm. His duty is to keep the lamp lit and the lens clean. He feels the tower shudder with each wave's impact. He hears the howling wind. But his attention is on the steady flame, the turning mechanism. The storm's job is to storm. The lighthouse's nature is to shine. The two can coexist without the lighthouse becoming the storm. In the morning, the storm exhausts itself and moves on. The lighthouse stands, perhaps with new salt stains on its stone, but its light never wavered. It did not take the storm's anger personally. It did not try to shout back at the waves. It simply performed its essential function, to be present and shining. You are that lighthouse. Your awareness is the steady flame. The hurtful words and actions of others are the storm. Your suffering begins only if you forget your nature and try to become the storm fighter, if you run out onto the cliff to wrestle with the waves. Your peace is preserved the moment you remember your role is not to stop the storm, but to tend the light of your own conscious presence. The storm cannot put out that light unless you abandon your post. Let us continue our exploration by gently turning our attention inward, to the very mechanism of receiving. Imagine, if you will, your mind as a vast, open courtyard. In the center stands a graceful, empty pedestal. This pedestal represents your willingness, your openness to experience. Now, from the gate of your senses, offerings are constantly being brought in. Some are wrapped in beautiful silks, words of praise, gestures of love, moments of beauty. Others arrive in rough, splintered boxes. Criticism, insults, neglect. Here lies one of the most subtle and powerful insights from the Buddhist tradition: we are not passive recipients. We are the ceremonial host who chooses, moment by moment, which offerings to place upon that central pedestal, to honor, to dwell upon, to give a place of prominence in the inner sanctum of our being. When a harsh word arrives, wrapped in the rough box of someone's anger, our habitual, unconscious reaction is to rush forward, take it, and place it reverently upon the pedestal. We then spend hours, days, even years, circling it, studying it, polishing it with our ruminative thoughts, believing it to be a true artifact of our worth. But what if you could simply bow to the messenger, acknowledge the delivery, and let the box sit, unopened, by the gate? Its contents need not define the sacred space within. This is the art of non-acceptance, not as rejection, but as wise discernment. It is what the Buddha pointed to when he taught that in the seeing, there is merely the seen, in the herd, merely the herd. Between the sensory event and our entanglements with it, there is a space of pure perception. That space is your sovereignty. To dwell there is to be free. Let me share with you a story, an original parable about the river and the cup. A young woman, carrying a delicate porcelain cup, came to the bank of a wide, muddy, turbulent river. She needed to get to the other side. Seeing the murky water swirling with debris, she grew distressed. "This filthy water will ruin my beautiful cup," she cried. She tried to find a bridge that did not exist. She tried to tiptoe across stones, nearly falling. An old ferryman, watching from his simple raft, called out, "The river does not care about your cup, child. But if you care so deeply, you must understand the cup's true nature." Puzzled, she approached. "What do you mean?" The ferryman gestured for her to sit. "That cup is empty. It is defined by its emptiness, its capacity to hold. You fear the river water defining it. But why are you asking the river to fill it? The river's nature is to flow. The cup's nature is to be empty, ready to receive what you choose. If you do not want river water, do not submerge it. Hold it above the current. Its emptiness remains pristine." He then took a dipper, drew clear water from a spring that fed into the river, and poured it into her cup. "See? You can choose what to let in. The river's mud is not an insult to the cup, it is simply the river being a river. Your suffering is not the river's fault, nor the cup's fragility. It is the fear that you have no choice in what fills it. We are that cup. Our conscious awareness is its defining emptiness. The world is the river, constantly flowing with all sorts of phenomena, clear spring water and muddy silt. Emotional pain is the act of unconsciously submerging our cup into the muddy current of someone else's anger or criticism, and then blaming the river for the contents. The practice is to hold the cup of our awareness steady, to consciously choose what we draw from the flow, and to remember that the cup's greatest power is not in what it holds, but in its inherent, unchanging emptiness that makes holding possible. This understanding requires us to examine the stories we tell. An insult is a sentence, a string of syllables. The suffering is the epic novel we write based on that sentence. We add chapters on our unworthiness, foreshadowing of future rejections, and character assassinations of the one who spoke. Buddhism teaches the concept of papanka, or mental proliferation. It is the mind's tendency to explode a simple sensation into a sprawling, suffocating jungle of concepts, memories, and projections. A single spark of unpleasant feeling triggers an inferno of narrative. The path to peace is not to fight the jungle, but to recognize the spark before it catches. It is to hear the sentence and, with immense kindness, refuse to write the novel. Now, let's explore this through another tale, the tale of the two messengers. In a kingdom, the queen employed two messengers to bring her news from the provinces. The first, named Reacta, would burst into the throne room with every report. If the news was of a failed harvest, he would wail, "Famine! Despair! Your reign is cursed." His face would mirror the suffering, his clothes disheveled from rushing. The queen, seeing his state, would herself become agitated, launching into drastic, often unwise, actions. The second messenger, named Observa, would enter calmly. For the same news of a failed harvest, he would state, "The wheat in the northern province has withered. The people are concerned." His voice was clear, his posture steady. He presented the fact without injecting the drama. The queen, receiving the information calmly, could then consult her advisors and devise a measured response. Arranging grain from storehouses, perhaps. Over time, the kingdom knew peace not because there was no bad news, but because bad news was not amplified into catastrophe by the vessel that carried it. Inside you, right now, both messengers exist. Reacta is the voice of immediate, identified emotion. Observa is the voice of mindful awareness. Your practice is to cultivate the inner observa. When hurtful news arrives from the province of your interaction with the world, let observa deliver it. A harsh word was spoken. A feeling of contraction has arisen. This simple, clear report allows the sovereign, your deeper wisdom, to respond from a place of choice, not chaos. This leads us to a vital, grounding metaphor, the root system. Picture a great tree in a clearing. Its leaves are your thoughts and emotions, constantly stirring, rustling, sometimes trembling in the wind. A harsh comment is a strong gust. The leaves may shake violently. If you believe you are the leaves, you will live in a constant state of agitation, at the mercy of every breeze. But beneath the surface lies the vast, silent root system, spreading deep into the nourishing dark earth. These roots are your embodied, mindful presence, your connection to the ground of being itself. The wind cannot uproot the tree because of these roots. Your work is not to control the wind or to stop the leaves from moving. Your work is to grow your roots. Every time you feel shaken, drop your awareness down from the trembling leaves of thought into the solidity of your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the breath anchoring you in the torso. Inhale, and imagine drawing stability from the earth. Exhale, and release the tremors. You are not the fleeting leaves. You are the entire tree, profoundly rooted. The wind of words passes. You remain. Let us now journey deeper, into the very alchemy of emotion. There is a profound teaching in Buddhism, often called transforming the poisons. It speaks of how the very energies we perceive as negative, anger, fear, pride, are not enemies to be destroyed, but lost aspects of our awareness that have become confused, like wind that has been trapped in a shut room, howling and rattling the walls. The practice is not to barricade the room further, but to open the windows, to allow the raw energy to move, to see its true nature, and in doing so, to let it settle into its inherent wisdom. When someone hurts you, the initial flash is pure, undifferentiated energy. It is alert, vivid, intelligent. In the next instant, the mind labels it, this is anger. This is hurt. This is bad. And with that label, we contract around it. We freeze the wind into a block of ice held against our own heart. What if, in that first flash, before the label solidifies, you could meet that energy with a curious, open awareness? What if you could ask it, what are you, really? This is the heart of a practice called mindful gap. It is the conscious cultivation of the space between the raw experience and our story about it. In that gap, freedom stirs. Let me illustrate this with an original story, the story of the bell and the clapper. In a monastery, there was a bell of extraordinary resonance. It hung silent in the bell tower for many years, as the old bell ringer had passed away and the secret of its ring was forgotten. A new, eager monk was tasked with ringing it. He found the great wooden clapper tied back with rope, away from the bell's side. Believing this to be a mistake, he cut the rope. The heavy clapper swung freely and, with the next gust of wind, struck the bell with a deafening, chaotic, jarring clang that shook the entire monastery, startling everyone. The head monk calmly climbed the tower. The young monk was distraught. "Forgive me. The sound is awful. It's an assault." The head monk smiled. "You have mistaken the instrument. The clapper is not the bell's voice, it is its provocateur. The true bell is the space around the clapper. Watch." He took a mallet wrapped in soft felt and tapped the bell gently on its rim. A pure, clear, deep tone emanated, vibrating through the stone tower, a sound of profound peace. "You see," said the head monk, "when the hard, untamed clapper of reaction strikes, it creates noise, the noise of suffering. But when the soft, mindful awareness touches the same bell, it draws out its true song, the song of awake presence. The bell has not changed. You have simply learned there is more than one way to be struck. When hurt comes, it is the hard, heavy clapper of another's pain or our own reactivity striking the bell of your awareness. The resulting clang is the suffering. Loud, jarring, chaotic. Your practice is to become the master with the soft mallet. To meet the strike not with another hard strike of retaliation or resistance, but with the gentle, inquisitive touch of mindful observation. In that soft touch, the same event, the strike, draws forth a different resonance, the clear tone of understanding, of compassion, of unshakable presence. To integrate this, we must revisit the notion of the self that feels hurt. Buddhism conducts a radical investigation into the self. It asks, when you say, "I am hurt," what is this I? Is it a solid, singular thing, or is it a fleeting constellation of sensations, thoughts, and memories gathered around a central sense of ownership? This is not a philosophical abstraction. It is a practical tool. When you feel wounded, turn your attention to the one who feels wounded. Look for its edges. Do you find a solid entity, or do you find a burning sensation in the chest, a tight throat, a repetitive thought loop saying, "This isn't fair," and a memory of a similar feeling from long ago? This constellation is what you are temporarily identifying with. The practice of anatta, or not self, is to de-identify. To see, there is hurt arising, rather than, "I am hurt." This slight shift in phrasing is a seismic shift in experience. It moves you from being the captive of the constellation to being the spacious sky in which the constellation temporarily appears. Let's explore this through a new parable, the parable of the sky painter. There was an artist who believed the sky was a vast, blank, solid canvas. Every day, he would paint his moods upon it. In anger, he would slosh great streaks of red and black. In sadness, he would wash it in grays and blues. He would then stand back, look up at his work, and feel consumed by the atmosphere he had created. "The world is so hostile," he would sigh under a sky of red, or, "The world is so sorrowful," he would weep under a sky of gray. One day, exhausted, he fell asleep in a meadow. He woke to a perfectly clear, infinite, azure sky. He gasped, realizing his paints and brushes were far away. In that moment of pure seeing, he understood. The sky was never his canvas. It was the background. It was the immutable, spacious container that had always been there, behind every stroke of his tempestuous paint. His paintings were just weather, dense, colorful, temporary formations that appeared within the sky, not on it. And the sky remained utterly untouched, vast, and clear. Our mind is that sky. Our emotional reactions are the paint. Suffering is the belief that we are the painting, and that the painting is permanent and defines the nature of reality. Liberation is the awakening to the fact that you are the sky itself. The red clouds of rage, the gray clouds of grief, they are content, not context. They pass. You, as awareness, do not. This understanding gives birth to true resilience, which is not a toughness, but a supple, unbreakable tenderness. It is the resilience of water, which does not resist the stone, but flows around it, wears it smooth, and reflects the sky all the while. Now, let's anchor this with a personal reflection. Years ago, during a period of intense professional criticism, I felt like a target. Every piece of feedback, even the constructive kind, felt like a personal verdict. I was the bell being clanged relentlessly. In desperation, I went on a long, silent walk in a redwood forest. Standing among those ancient, towering beings, I felt my smallness. I placed my hand on the bark of one, grooved, scarred by fire, etched by centuries of weather. A guide nearby said, "You know, these trees don't heal their wounds like we do. They don't erase them. They simply grow around them. The scar becomes part of their structure, their story, their strength. It's called inosculation. They incorporate the injury." In that moment, I saw my own critical thoughts not as enemies to be defeated, but as experiences to be incorporated. I didn't need to heal by making the hurt disappear. I could grow a wider, wiser perspective around it. I could let it become part of my inner structure without letting it define my core. That forest taught me the Buddhist principle of tathata, suchness, or the acceptance of things as they are, as the very ground for growth. The hurt was such. My awareness was the redwood, vast and capable of growing around it. Now, let us gently turn our attention to a force that may seem, at first, like the opposite of invulnerability, but is in truth its very source and completion, compassion. In the Buddhist path, wisdom and compassion are the two wings of a bird. Wisdom sees the emptiness of self and other, the illusory nature of the separate one who hurts and the one being hurt. Compassion is the natural, warm-hearted response that arises from that seeing. When you truly understand, through the wisdom of non-self and impermanence, that the person who speaks harshly is themselves a prisoner of their own conditioning, their own pain, their own ignorance, how can you hold blame? You see them trapped in a burning house of their own anger, and your primary response is not to light a counter-fire, but to feel a sincere wish for their freedom from those flames. This compassion, born of clear seeing, is the most powerful shield in existence. It creates a buffer of understanding so profound that the sharp point of an insult simply cannot find purchase. It dissolves the solid other, who is the enemy, and reveals a suffering being caught in a dream. Your heart, in that moment, does not harden in defense, it softens in recognition. This is not about being a doormat or condoning harmful behavior. It is about strategic invulnerability. You can set a firm boundary with the clarity of wisdom while holding a compassionate space in your heart. The boundary protects your peace, the compassion protects your heart from the poison of hatred. As the Buddhist texts say, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Compassion is the act of dropping the coal, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve the coolness of an unburned hand. Let me share an original story to illuminate this, the tale of the frozen lake and the sun. High in the mountains, there was a lake that froze solid each winter, its surface hard, cold, and mirror smooth. It prided itself on its impenetrability. Stones thrown by travelers would skitter across its surface with a sharp, loud clack, but could not break through. I am strong, the ice thought. Nothing can hurt me. One day, the spring sun began to shine with increasing warmth. The ice felt a terrible, vulnerable softening. It dreaded the sun, believing its strength was being taken away. You are weakening me, the ice cried to the sun. The sun did not reply. It simply continued to shine, steadily, gently. As the ice melted, it became water, fluid, soft, yielding. The same travelers now threw stones. Instead of clacking defiantly, the stones sank silently into the deep, accepting water with a soft plop, sending out gentle ripples that soon settled. The water made no sound of impact. The stone was swallowed by depth. The water realized its new nature. It could not be shattered, because it could not be grasped. Its strength was no longer in brittle hardness, but in limitless, adaptable softness. It was the sun's compassion that had thawed it into its true, invulnerable state. Our defensive anger and hardened pride are like the ice, brittle, loud, and focused on repelling impact. The compassionate understanding that thaws us, the understanding of another's pain, the wisdom of emptiness, transforms us into the water. Hurtful actions then sink into the depth of our understanding, causing a ripple that soon settles, leaving no lasting crack. The sun of wisdom does not weaken us, it reveals our true, unbreakable nature, which is fluid, connected, and deep. This compassionate understanding requires us to practice what I call seeing the invisible thread. Imagine that every person who acts from a place of hurt, anger, or cruelty is trailing behind them an invisible thread. If you follow that thread back with your mind's eye, with empathy, you will inevitably find its origin tied to a wound, a fear, a moment of powerlessness in their own past. They are not hurling a weapon they forged in the present, they are flailing, trying to disconnect themselves from a hook in their own history. When you see this thread, the act of cruelty becomes a tragic symptom, not a fundamental truth about you or even entirely about them. Your fight is not with them, but with the ghost that haunts them. And you cannot fight a ghost for someone else. You can only refuse to let it haunt you, too. To embody this, let's explore another original narrative, the story of the wounded gardener. In a village, there were two neighboring gardeners. One, Ananda, kept a beautiful, peaceful plot. The other, Klesha, whose garden was overrun with thorns and bitter weeds, was filled with envy and spite. One night, Klesha crept into Ananda's garden and hurled handfuls of weed seeds and rubbish over the fence. In the morning, Ananda saw the invasion. His first feeling was outrage. He stormed toward Klesha's house to confront him. But halfway there, he paused. He looked at Klesha's own garden, the chaos, the neglect, the palpable misery of it. He saw not an evil neighbor, but a suffering one. Ananda turned around. He did not ignore the rubbish in his own garden. He set to work, carefully removing the weeds and debris. But then, he did something more. He took a start of one of his most fragrant, beautiful flowering vines, potted it in rich soil, and placed it at Klesha's gate with a simple note, "For your fence, if you wish." He did not do this to be praised, nor did he expect change. He did it to free his own heart from the weed of hatred. Klesha, seeing the gift, was first suspicious, then confused, then, slowly, touched. The act did not instantly transform his garden, but it snapped a thread of hostility. Ananda had protected his peace not by building a higher fence of anger, but by tending his inner landscape with compassionate action. He understood that the attack was not about the beauty of his garden, but about the pain of the attacker's own inner wilderness. This practice extends to our own inner critic as well. Often, the most hurtful voice is our own. It speaks in the borrowed tones of past criticisms, weaving a story of inadequacy. Here, compassion turns inward. Meet that inner critic not as a truth teller, but as a frightened part of yourself that believes harshness is a form of protection. Thank it for its concern, and then, with great kindness, choose not to believe its story. Offer yourself the flowering vine of self-kindness. Now, let's integrate this with a final reflection for this segment. Compassion, in the Buddhist sense, is a clear-eyed engagement. The Brahmaviharas, or divine abodes, include karuna, compassion, but also upekkha, equanimity. Equanimity is the balanced, steady mind that knows what it can and cannot control. It provides the foundation so that compassion does not become draining martyrdom. It allows you to say, I see your suffering, and I wish for your freedom, but I am not responsible for your choices. My primary responsibility is to maintain my own clarity and peace, for from that place, all true help flows. This balanced compassion is your sanctuary. It means you can wish someone well from a distance, even as you wisely choose not to stand in the line of their fire. Let us now bring these teachings down from the mountain of principle and into the valley of daily life. How do we live this? How do we walk through an ordinary day? With its traffic jams, its demanding emails, its thoughtless comments from strangers, carrying this unshakable peace. The Buddhist path is one of cultivation, of bhavana, which means literally, bringing into being. It is not enough to understand, we must train, gently and persistently, as we would train a muscle or learn a new language. This training happens in the micro-moments, in what I call the inner postures we assume in response to the world's touch. The first and most fundamental inner posture is the pause. It is the sacred space maker. Before the words leave your mouth, before the reactive text is sent, before the story of offense solidifies in your mind, institute a pause. It can be the duration of one conscious breath. In that tiny cathedral of silence, everything changes. You step out of the river of conditioned reaction and onto the bank of conscious choice. In that pause, you are not a puppet of your history. You are a sovereign being in the present moment. You create a gap between the stimulus and your response, and in that gap, as the philosopher Viktor Frankl famously said, lies your freedom and your growth. Let me offer a story about this practice, the story of the weaver's shuttle. In a village famous for its tapestries, there was a young weaver known for his skill but also for his quick temper. If a thread snapped or the pattern went awry, he would cry out in frustration, sometimes tearing days of work off the loom. His teacher, an elderly woman with eyes the color of a still pond, watched him. One day, as he was about to erupt over a tangled thread, she placed her hand gently on his. The shuttle, she said, pointing to the tool that carries the thread back and forth, must pause at the edge of the loom. It must stop, completely, before it can change direction. If it tries to turn while still in motion, it tangles the entire warp. Your mind is that shuttle. Let it come to a complete stop at the edge of the emotion. Do not try to change direction, from anger to calm, while you are still moving with the momentum of the feeling. First, pause. Be still. Then, the next movement, the return, will be clear and untangled. The young weaver began to practice. When frustration arose, he would physically stop moving. He would put down his tools, place his hands on his knees, and take one full breath, doing nothing else. In that still point, the tangled emotion began to loosen on its own. The pause became his most valuable tool, more precious than any shuttle. Building on the pause, we adopt a second inner posture, the observer's bench. Imagine your mind as a bustling town square. Thoughts, feelings, and sensations are the townspeople, arguing, celebrating, rushing about. Your habitual role is to be in the middle of the crowd, getting jostled, taking sides, getting swept along. The practice is to instead imagine yourself sitting on a quiet bench at the edge of the square. You are still present, you see and hear everything clearly, but you are not in the fray. From the bench, you can notice, there is the feeling of tightness in the shoulders. There is the thought, he disrespected me. There is the memory of a similar time. You label them quietly, without judgment, tightness. Thought. Memory. You don't try to silence the square, you simply change your relationship to it. This is the essence of vipassana or insight meditation, observing the phenomena of mind and body with detached curiosity. From the bench, you realize you are not the chaotic town, you are the aware space that contains it. The insult is just another passerby in the square. You can watch it walk through without following it home. Now, let's give this a practical frame with a third posture, the body anchor. When the mind is spinning with the story of hurt, it has left the present moment. The fastest way to reclaim it is to drop awareness into the body. The body is always in the now. Feel your feet firmly on the ground. Feel the weight of your bones. Notice the breath moving in the torso. Where do you feel the emotion physically? Is it a clench in the jaw, a heat in the ears, a hollow in the stomach? Place your gentle, curious attention on that physical sensation itself, without the story. Breathe into that space. Often, the intense energy of the emotion, when met with this kind of mindful, bodily awareness, will shift, move, or dissolve on its own. It is just energy seeking release. By feeling it fully in the body, you allow it to complete its cycle without getting trapped in the mental loop. You are not repressing, you are processing at the level of pure sensation. To illustrate the power of these postures woven together, here is a personal anecdote. I was once in an important collaborative meeting where a colleague publicly dismissed an idea I had spent weeks developing. His words were curt, his tone dismissive. The old, familiar surge rose, heat in the face, a pounding heart, a torrent of defensive arguments. But I had been practicing. First, the pause. I physically leaned back in my chair, picked up my water glass, and took a slow sip. This simple act created a 3-second gap. In that gap, I invoked the observer's bench. I mentally noted, hurt pride arising. Sensation of heat. Thought, he's trying to diminish me. Then, I dropped into the body anchor. I felt my feet flat on the floor, my spine against the chair. I found the tight knot in my solar plexus and breathed into it. By the time I set the glass down, the emotional tsunami had receded to a manageable wave. I was able to respond not with a counterattack, but with a question, I'd like to understand your concerns more fully. Can you help me see the potential pitfalls you're noticing? The conversation shifted from conflict to collaboration. I had not accepted the gift of his dismissiveness. I had remained the weaver, not the tangled thread. These inner postures are your daily rituals. They are how you wear the teachings like a garment, so they become your natural way of being. You will forget. The shuttle will try to turn mid-flight. When that happens, treat yourself with the kindness of the elderly weaver. Simply begin again. Each conscious return to the pause, the bench, the anchor, is a victory. It is a silent revolution in your own nervous system, a rewiring toward peace. We arrive now at a profound crossing. We've spoken of pausing, of observing, of anchoring in the body. But to become truly unshakable, we must venture into the territory of the heart's deepest expectation, the need for a specific outcome. We believe, often subconsciously, that for us to be happy, to be at peace, others must behave in certain ways. They must be respectful, kind, understanding. When they are not, we feel our peace is stolen from us. Buddhism identifies this as the root of dukkha, suffering, attachment to craving, and aversion. Specifically, our suffering from hurt is often an attachment to the craving for fairness, for recognition, for being treated well, and an aversion to the experience of being treated poorly. The key to freedom lies not in ensuring the world meets our demands, but in releasing our desperate grip on those demands themselves. This is the practice of non-attachment. Let us be clear. Non-attachment is not cold detachment, nor is it a lack of caring. It is the opposite. It is the spaciousness that allows you to care deeply without your inner well-being being held hostage by results you cannot control. It is like being a gardener who lovingly plants seeds, tends the soil, and waters faithfully, but does not stand over the seedling screaming for it to grow faster, or collapsing in despair if a frost comes. You do your part with full love and attention, and then you release the outcome to the 10,000 other conditions of sun, rain, soil, and time that are beyond your command. Your peace remains in the quality of your tending, not in the harvest. To illuminate this, let me share an original story, the parable of the arrowsmith. In a walled city perpetually at risk of siege, there lived a master arrowsmith. His arrows were straight, true, and deadly. The city's safety, everyone believed, depended on his arrows finding their mark in the hearts of enemies. The arrowsmith took this burden upon himself. With each arrow he fletched, he would whisper a spell of attachment, "You must hit the target. The safety of my children depends on you." When the enemy came and the archers loosed his arrows, he would stand on the wall, his heart tied to each shaft, feeling a personal agony when one veered off in the wind or was deflected by a shield. He lived in constant anguish, for he could not control the wind, the skill of the archer, or the movement of the enemy. He grew ill with the burden. A wise physician found him in his workshop. The physician took an unfinished arrow and held it. "This is a perfect arrow," he said. "Your duty was to make it so. And you have. The arrow's flight, however, belongs to the arrow, the archer, and the sky. Your peace belongs to you. You have confused the two. Do your work with impeccable care. Then, release it to its own journey. The safety of the city was never in your control, it was always in the collective karma of its preparation and the skill of its defenders. Your control is here, in the truth of this shaft and the steadiness of your own hand." The arrowsmith understood. He began to craft each arrow with serene, full attention, blessing it simply to be a true arrow. He released it without a demand. His anguish lifted. He found peace in the integrity of his craft, not in the chaos of the battle he could never command. When we are hurt, we are like the arrowsmith who has tied his heart to an arrow, the arrow of another person's behavior. We stand on the ramparts of our mind, screaming for it to hit the target of fairness, watching in torment as it flies off course. Non-attachment is the profound understanding, I crafted my response with integrity. The other person's behavior is their arrow, flying on the winds of their own karma. I release it. My peace is not on that arrow. This release is empowered by a deep understanding of anicca, impermanence. The hurtful moment, no matter how sharp, is a fleeting configuration of elements. The feeling is a weather pattern in the mind-body. To suffer is to take that passing storm and build a permanent residence inside it, to furnish it with memories and future projections, and to call it home. Non-attachment is the willingness to let the storm have its life, while you remain the sky. It is knowing that this too shall pass, not as a cliché, but as a law of existence as reliable as gravity. Let's explore this through another tale, the story of the stone bridge. There was a stone bridge, ancient and sturdy, that spanned a powerful river. The bridge took great pride in its solidity, its unwavering form. It hated the river, for the river was always changing, sometimes a gentle flow, sometimes a raging torrent that battered its pillars. Be still. Be consistent, the bridge would silently demand of the river. The river, of course, flowed on according to the rains and the seasons. The bridge spent its life in a state of frustration and anxiety, feeling assaulted by the river's very nature. One day, an earthquake came. The ground shifted, and the bridge collapsed into the river. As its stones tumbled into the current, a strange thing happened. The stones, no longer bound in a rigid form, were carried by the water. They tumbled and rolled, smoothed and polished. The river did not hate the stones, it embraced them, moved them, changed them. In that movement, the stones experienced a freedom they never knew as a bridge. Their identity as a fixed, resisting structure was gone. They were simply part of the flow. Our ego, with its attachments to how things should be, is the rigid bridge. Life, and other people's actions, is the river. Our suffering is the bridge's futile demand that the river stop being a river. Spiritual collapse, the falling apart of our rigid identity, is not a disaster, but a return to the flow. When we release our attachment to a fixed outcome, they must apologize, this must be fair, we allow ourselves to be carried by the larger current of life's impermanence. We discover a peace that is not dependent on stillness, but is found in harmonious movement. How do we practice this non-attachment in the heat of the moment? We use a mantra of release. When you feel the hook of an expectation set deep, silently say, I prefer kindness, but I do not demand it. I am not the keeper of another's behavior. My peace is my own responsibility. This is not passivity. It is the active claiming of your own inner territory. It allows you to respond to the situation from a place of choice, not from the frantic need to control the uncontrollable. To close this segment, reflect on this. The greatest gift of non-attachment is the rediscovery of your own inner resourcefulness. When you stop demanding that the external world arrange itself to please you, you discover an infinite well of peace, creativity, and strength within that was always there, waiting behind the noise of your demands. You become like a tree that no longer begs the sun for light, but simply turns its leaves to receive it, knowing its growth comes from its own silent, patient gathering. Now we turn our attention inward, to the fertile yet often troubled soil of our own history. For the sharp sting of a new hurt is so often amplified by an old echo. A passing comment becomes a canyon of pain because it falls into a wound that never fully closed. The Buddhist teachings on sankharas, mental formations or conditioning, show us that we do not meet any moment anew. We meet it through layers of past experiences, habitual reactions, and deeply held beliefs about ourselves and the world. To become truly unshakable, we must become gentle archaeologists of our own inner landscape. We must learn to tend to these old wounds with awareness, so that when new stones are thrown, they land on healed ground, not on tender scars. This is not about endless digging or blaming the past. It is about bringing the light of compassionate awareness to the patterns that live within us, seeing them clearly, and in that seeing, loosening their grip. It is the process of airing out old rooms in the house of the self, so they no longer hold the musty smell of ancient pain. Let me share a story to guide us in this work, the tale of the Echoing Gorge. High in the mountains was a deep, narrow gorge. It had a peculiar trait: it would hold on to sound. A traveler's shout would bounce back and forth between the stone walls for minutes, creating a chorus of echoes that slowly faded. Over centuries, the gorge became a repository of fragments, bits of songs, cries of lost animals, shouts of anger from feuding clans. One day, a sage came to camp near the gorge. At dusk, he sighed, a simple release of breath from a long day's climb. The gorge took his sigh and sent back a cacophony, a distorted scream, a sobbing fragment, an angry yell. The sage did not startle. He listened intently. He understood these were not present dangers, but trapped vibrations from long ago. Night after night, he would come and simply breathe calmly into the gorge. He would hum a low, steady note. He did not fight the echoes, he met them with a consistent, peaceful frequency. Slowly, the old, trapped sounds began to lose their power. They mixed with his steady tone and dissipated. After many moons, when the sage sighed, the gorge returned only the soft rustle of wind in pines. It had been retuned. Our psyche is that gorge. The current hurt is the traveler's shout. But the prolonged suffering is the echoing chorus of every similar hurt we've ever experienced, the childhood taunt, the past betrayal, the old humiliation. Our practice is to become the sage. We cannot silence the initial shout, the present event, but we can retune the gorge of our inner world with the steady, peaceful frequency of mindful awareness. We meet the old echoes not with fear, but with recognition. Ah, this is the sound of the 7th grade humiliation. This is the vibration of the past betrayal. We breathe our present moment awareness into that old sound, and gradually, its power to distort our present experience fades. This work involves a practice called labeling the echo. When you feel a disproportionate reaction, pause and ask, how old does this feel? Sit with the sensation and see if a memory or an image from the past arises. You are not reliving the memory to resuffer it. You are kindly identifying the source of the echo. You might silently say, this intense fear of rejection is touching the memory of being left out as a child. This simple act of naming separates the past echo from the present reality. It allows you to address the current situation on its own terms, while promising your inner child that you will tend to that old wound separately, with care. Another powerful tool is the ritual of compassionate release. This is an active, imaginative practice for old, sticky hurts that still carry a charge. Find a quiet moment. Bring to mind the old wound. Not the story in detail, but the felt sense of it in your body. Imagine that old pain as a dense, dark object, a stone, a knot of thorns, a piece of cold iron, held within your energy field. Then, visualize a compassionate presence. It could be your future wise self, a figure of light, or the essence of the Buddha, gently reaching in and removing that object. See them holding it with infinite kindness. Watch as it transforms in their hands. The stone becomes sand and blows away, the thorns blossom into flowers, the iron melts into liquid light. This is not magical thinking, it is a neural ritual that signals to your deep psyche that the past is over, and you are now safe to release the protective armor you built around that pain. To ground this, let's walk through an original narrative, the story of the buried seed. A gardener found a patch of her garden where nothing would grow but a tough, bitter weed. She pulled it, yet it always returned. Frustrated, she dug deep. Far below the surface, her spade struck not a rock, but an old, forgotten clay pot. Inside it was a shriveled, ancient seed. She realized this was not a wheat seed, it was a rare flower seed planted by the previous gardener decades before, but it had been buried in the dark pot, unable to sprout properly. Its life force, twisted and trapped, had sent up only these bitter, weedy shoots in a desperate attempt to reach the light. The gardener carefully lifted the pot, broke it open, and planted the old seed in rich, open soil with sunlight. In time, it grew into a magnificent, resilient flower of stunning beauty. Our chronic patterns of oversensitivity, defensiveness, or quickness to feel hurt are often the bitter weeds sent up by a buried seed, an unmet need, an unexpressed truth, a forgotten trauma from our personal past. The weed is not the enemy, it is a distorted message. The work is to dig, with compassionate curiosity, to find the buried seed of original pain. Then, we can bring it into the light of conscious awareness, plant it in the soil of self-compassion, and allow it to transform into a strength, a wisdom, a unique beauty that becomes part of our wholeness. This inner archaeology is a slow, sacred process. There is no deadline. Be as patient and kind with yourself as the sage was with the Echoing Gorge. Each time you identify an echo, each time you visualize a release, you are softening the soil of your being. You are making it less likely that a future hurt will trigger a landslide of ancient pain. We have journeyed together across many landscapes of the heart. We have explored the pause, the observer's bench, the body's anchor. We have practiced releasing the arrows of outcome we cannot control, and listened with compassion to the echoing gorges within. Now, we arrive at the destination that was also the beginning, the realization that this unshakable peace is not a private treasure to be hoarded in a hidden vault. It is a light that, by its very nature, must shine. It is a stillness that, by its very depth, creates ripples of calm in the world around it. The final teaching, the ultimate expression of this path, is understanding that your inner sanctuary is also a sanctuary for others. Your non-reaction is not a wall, it is a spacious room. Your compassion is not a drain, it is a spring. When you stand firm in your own clear, grounded awareness, you become a silent, stabilizing force in the collective field of human interaction. You become a living example of a different way to be. This is embodied in the Buddhist ideal of the Bodhisattva, one who seeks awakening not for oneself alone, but for the benefit of all beings. The Bodhisattva's vow is to remain in the world, to engage with its sorrow and its joy, but from the unshakable ground of wisdom. Your practice of not taking in hurt, of not spreading the contagion of reactivity, is a supreme act of service. You break the chain of suffering. When you do not return anger for anger, you absorb that energy and transform it within the alchemy of your awareness. You literally become a transformer station for the world's pain, converting the raw, dangerous current of hatred into the usable, light-giving energy of peace. Let me share a final, culminating story, the legend of the Silent Bell Tower. In a war-torn valley between two perpetually feuding villages, there stood an old, abandoned bell tower on the border. Its bell had been cracked in some long-ago conflict and was silent. Hatred was the currency of the land. Every insult was returned threefold. A monk, seeking to practice the deepest teachings, came to this valley. He did not go to either village to preach. Instead, he moved into the bell tower. Each day at dawn and dusk, he would not ring the broken bell. Instead, he would sit perfectly still in its shadow and meditate, radiating a palpable, silent calm. At first, the villagers mocked him. They threw curses and rotten fruit toward the tower. The monk did not react. He simply sat, a figure of unwavering stillness. Over time, his silent presence became a curious fixture. Children, drawn to his quietness, would venture near. He would smile but not speak. Their parents, watching from a distance, began to notice something strange. When they shouted insults toward the tower, there was no returning echo. The hostility just hung in the air and then seemed to dissipate, absorbed by the quiet. It was unnerving, then intriguing. One day, a young hothead from one village, enraged by a theft from the other, stormed toward the border to seek vengeance. As he passed the bell tower, he saw the monk sitting there, eyes closed, face serene as a mountain lake. The man's own rage felt suddenly loud and foolish in that presence. He stopped. He didn't know why. He just stood there, breathing heavily, watching the unmoving monk. For the first time, he heard his own heartbeat over the drum of his anger. He turned around and went home. This happened again and again, in smaller ways. The monk never lectured, never intervened in disputes. He simply was peace. His unshakable non-participation in the feud created a space, a vacuum of reactivity, that slowly, over years, began to draw the conflict toward resolution. The villagers, without quite understanding how, began to settle their differences more quietly. They had, in some deep part of themselves, learned from the tower that a response was not mandatory. The silent bell tower had become the most powerful sound in the valley, the sound of choice. You are that bell tower. Your family, your workplace, your social circle is the valley. Your practice of not accepting the gift of anger, of pausing before reacting, of responding from compassion, creates a silent, transformative field around you. You offer others something priceless. The experience of not being reflected back their own chaos. In that clear mirror of your calm, they have a chance to see themselves anew. So, How do we live this as a closing practice? We embrace the role of the silent ambassador. As you move through your days, let your primary action be the maintenance of your inner peace. Let your speech and deeds flow from that center. When you encounter negativity, see it as your practice ground. Your job is not to fix the other person, but to remain intact, clear, and kind. This is your offering. It is more powerful than any argument. In conclusion, remember the core truth we have woven through all these stories and teachings: hurt is an invitation. It invites you to contract, to build a story, to live in the past or the feared future. But you have learned you can decline that invitation. You can instead accept a different invitation. The invitation to presence, to awareness, to the vast sky-like nature of your own mind. The world will continue to throw stones. You have learned you are the lake. You have learned you are the lighthouse. You have learned you are the sky, the rooted tree, the silent bell tower. Take this with you. Let it be a gentle touchstone. When you feel the old hook of hurt, breathe. Pause. Remember the empty boat. Visualize the unaccepted gift. Feel your roots in the earth. You have all the tools within you. They are not complicated, they are profoundly simple. They require only your remembering. This journey does not end here. It continues in your next breath, your next interaction. If you wish to keep this sanctuary alive, to have these reminders gently ring in your life, I invite you to subscribe to Monk's Temple. Let this be a shared space of remembering. And please, share this piece. Pass this teaching on to one person whose heart you feel might be weary of the storm. In doing so, you multiply the silent bell towers in the world. Thank you for your profound and attentive presence. Walk gently. Walk wisely. Your peace is the greatest gift you can give to this world. It is, and always has been, within you.